First of all, really, the true support group is actually Chinti and all the arrhythmia, clinic. There, each and every time they volunteer for this, they're being fantastic. They organize the food, everything. So it's not really me. They are supporting us, so that's for sure. It's not the other way around. And first of all, I really, Chinti says this is by far the largest audience we ever had. So we started this about 8 years ago. So I truly appreciate everybody showed up here. And, it's Saturday. Hopefully traffic wasn't too bad. And I hope that really my purpose today is to try to demystify actually what we know about true nutrition, and is 21st century in America. And we are in a paradoxical situation here. Up to about 50 years ago, we didn't know much about it, even if you want to eat healthy, because there wasn't enough data. So back then, it was the easiest thing to learn anything new because there was very little information. Right now, the problem is we have too much information. As a matter of fact, if you Google any subject related to food, everybody's a world expert now. Everybody's got a blog. Everybody's got an opinion. I would say that 99% out of what's there, unfortunately, it's a very biased opinion because everybody wants to sell something to somebody. And even those bloggers, you will not believe. Having said that, I think my job is to tell you, hey, these are the ingredients that matter. This is the overall direction that we need to go in. And I'm going to basically make sure I tell you what's the elephant in the room so everybody knows. So I'm going to tell you what's not right. I'm going to tell you what we probably know is right. And I'm going to also show you how to fix the problem. Also, I hope I'll convince you that that is how we eat is probably 90% of the problems we have nowadays, at least with the healthcare. So I'm going to go further. And what I'm going to do as a physician, I'm going to make a full statement here, all right? The motto of today's 2 hours, lecture is that I'm going to quote Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." And I hope for you it will be a different path now. And some of you, I know, you've been coming already for a while. You've been already doing this. I know you're doing the right thing because you want to change even and get even better. That's why you're here. But for me, it's actually a new path too. All right? I'm going to make full disclosure. I'm going to act today that I'm an expert in nutrition. And in my whole medical education life, I've never had 1 hour of full nutritional formal lecture. Okay? So basically, this, you got to take, for a better way of saying, with a grain of salt, what I'm going to say. But having said that, we're changing that. Actually, this year, first year ever, that our students at Emory actually get full course of nutritional classes. And I think it's a start. It's not perfect, but it's a start. So hopefully, us as physicians will be very informed how important and how valuable is nutrition for anybody who wants to prevent or live with heart disease or any other disease to begin with. So basically, I'm going right now on the path where very few of us are actually going. And I try to, in the last 12 years or so, to learn what's good or right. I actually have done research with it. I'm by far no full expert in it. But I will make a statement this. Whatever I'm going to state today, I promise you I am an expert in it. I'm not going to comment on things that I don't think I know what I'm talking about. Also, when I say that, I look at what we call evidence-based medicine, and I can't really show you that data because that by itself requires too much time. There are plenty of books, and I can refer to those and research papers. But you're just going to have to take my words for it. My job is going to be to give you some glasses, all right, or I say to empower you with knowledge that's easy to use, that you can easily screen for yourself what's a good food, what's not a good food, well, what can you do in the current environment so nobody fools you anymore what matters for your body. That's all right? So I'm going to start with this, okay? How old do you think this person is? Okay, well, this is Willie May Hardy. She was born in March 11, 1908. All right? She's alive, as a matter of fact. So she's the third, actually, oldest person in Georgia State, according to her daughter. And I said, well, let's go and talk to her, see what is the secret? How come you leave it? She's very functional. As you see, this is some salad or kale that she pulled from her own yard growing it. All right, she's very active. I'm sure she's not as active as when she was 90 or 80, but she's still independent and she's still cooking for herself with help. She moves around. So here's what she said. I grew up in the farm. Her family grew their food. They cooked their food. We had a large farm. Now people are calling this healthy living. In other words, she assumes that this is so obvious that that's a secret of a long life. That she assumes everybody is calling that, is trying to do that. Go back to the way we used to do 100 years ago, and everybody's dying that, and that's an obvious statement. And I want to tell you, it's not obvious, unfortunately. But I'll try to make a case that is worth looking at how within that context we'd actually pursue at least to have a similar source of food. So now these people are calling this healthy living. So I'm contributing my long life, good, healthy eating. All right? She wrote that. She sent this to me a week ago. All right? If you interview actually many of these people who live over 100 years across the world, there are actually a couple of common denominators, okay? Two, if you ask them, I'm sure researchers, scientists are doing their tricks, oh, how do you live longer? But they also went to patients and they interviewed two people. No, they're not patients, they're people who interviewed them. And what do you think was the secret? How do you get so far? And no, some of them have said God, some of them said genes, but most of them said these two things, and always the same two things. Number one is, I try the best to do whatever stress is around me, not to stress me out. All right, so then what's the equivalent? It's like doing yoga with yourself every day and say, hey, we all have stress in life. The moment you become a responsible human being, you're going to have that. It's how you deal with it that makes a difference. So try not to get through me, I'm quoting. And the second thing, they all believe absolutely that the food was essential. And eating as, in other words, not only the source of the food, it has to be as close to the way we used to do it, but also the processing part of it. And basically the idea of farming and the idea of eating something that's the way things were used to be done a while ago. All right, so now I introduced her, and let's see how we get back there. But meanwhile, I wanna quote somebody who I think was right this time, who said, "What nourishes me destroys me." All right, you wouldn't know. I usually have multiple choice answers, but it's Angelina Jolie, believe it or not. And I know she's a controversial subject, but I actually happen to totally agree with her this time, okay? Actually, she has this in Latin, quod me nutrit me destruit. What nourishes me also destroys me, all right? And what I'm trying to get at here is that while you're here thinking of heart disease, this is a heart doctor, heart failure, coronary disease, really most of these conditions that I have here, starting with obesity and pretty much overweight, they coincide. Most of these conditions, sooner or later, they will occur in exactly the same body, all right? So we always blame it on the obesity. Oh, you're fat, that's why you're gonna get coronary disease, you're gonna have heart attack, you're gonna get diabetes, you're gonna get sleep apnea, fatty liver, cholesterol problem. Some women are unable to conceive because of that, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and eventually get dementia if you live long enough and you made it, okay? But I don't think that's the problem. I don't think obesity is the problem. The fact that all these conditions, sooner or later, they all come in the same person, it means maybe what causes obesity causes everything else too. And to me, the obesity is just the elephant in the room, but it's not the main problem. It's how you acquire obesity and the other conditions that come together. There is 200 years ago, we used to have a healthy obesity. There are people who are just chubby, don't necessarily get sick later on. Unfortunately, that doesn't occur anymore, okay? Right now, we're 30% of the, Americans are considered, morbidly obese. And what they mean by morbidly obese is not that you're just overweight. You actually have also disease that associated will shorten your lifespan and will worsen your quality of life. For example, just so you see the numbers, this is just a nice map, all right? If it's red, it's hot, it's bad. It has gotten up to 30%. If it's blue, you have under 5% how many people have obesity in that particular place. So per states, you see within 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, we have changed from less than 5% to all the way up to 30%. 20 years. Now, I don't think you need to be a researcher, a scientist, nor a medical expert. You will, and if I ask you a question, do you guys think this is genes, or this is it not nature or nurture here? All right, if you were to pick a bet, how did they get so sick and so obese in 20 years? All right, is it nature or is it nurture? Nurture, and you're not expert. How you dare to say that? It's very simple. To get in nature, you need to multiply. You need a human lifespan, which is at least 75 years nowadays. We are not there, okay? Now, doesn't mean there is no genetic contribution. Some of us will be more sensitive than others, according to the genes, to get, sicker faster. But either way, in 20 years, we're not mice to have a baby every 4 weeks. And then you can blame it on that, oh, we just changed our genetic material, okay? That's not. So that simple fact should tell you this is all environment. It's what and it's not that we just get obese, but the same states that have highest obesity states, notice Southeast, new onset diabetes too. So not only do we get obese, but if you were 30 pounds overweight above your, whatever dry weight is supposed to be, I promise you, until proven otherwise, you also have diabetes. You just don't know that yet. Okay? So whoever thinks is in that situation here, and I quickly see at least 50% of what I'm seeing, if they don't know that, you better check yourself. Okay? Because it's a matter of time. That's the data. All right? All right. So let's move on. So not only we got obese, we also got diabetes. Two conditions that I told you, and we're really concerned. And as a matter of fact, we're so concerned that we think if we import Michelangelo for a couple of years, he's going to become the same, here. And it's a matter of time, we're going to really we used to be called Homo habilis, that means the people with agile, with skills. Now we are Homo sapiens, the smart, the intelligent Homo. Well, we're going to be Homo obesicus very soon. Let's see how smart we're going to be with that one. All right? So what I'm trying to say is, I made a case that we have gotten very obese very fast across the nation. By the way, it's across the world. It's not just here. It's everywhere. Used to say, oh, it's only in Western countries. Now it's everywhere. In China, it doesn't matter, all right? It has, because once we have access to the same processed food, it's a global industry. Everything has access everywhere. And there are no laws to regulate in a certain country. Those people will get a little, faster than the others. And I'm trying to make a case that the issue is here, not the genes. It's some kind of environment. You can't really get fat just by breathing air. So it's got to be nutrition, all right? And there's the nutrition. It's how we acquire obesity. What we eat that makes the difference, what and how we eat. And I would say, really, everybody says, well, I'm weak, I'm anemic. And you see, I look at this patient who says, well, I'm weak, I'm anemic, I need to be fed. I just haven't eaten for 12 hours waiting for your stupid test. And I said, I think you're just fine, all right? As a matter of fact, the only way we have proven to live longer and healthier is to eat less, all right? A little fasting never kill anybody, all right? But having said that, that's not what I say. But bottom line is that it might be a way to actually solve our problem, because our problem nowadays, sure, 200 years ago used to be famine. We used to eat maybe 5,000 years ago, maybe once every 2 or 3 days, we didn't have access to food. So we're programmed to eat and eat and eat and never stop. But now it's exactly opposite. We have access to food. And not only have access to food, but we have access to a food that's overloaded with sugar, fat, proteins. It was what I call industrial food. Industrial means mass production and preservation. Mass production. And that is the source of the problem. Because if you mass produce, you have to be mass preserved, and you have to mass transport. And once you introduce that into the equation, it's called globalization, you destroy anything that's nutritional value there, and you increase what I call empty calories. I'm going to make a case for that. So this is what I understand by industrial food. It's produced on a large scale. Even organic, if it's produced on a large scale, it can lead to similar consequences. It doesn't matter. All right? So all the facts are, we have mass industrialization of our food sources and processing. We have tremendous obesity has accumulated with diabetes. I show you the data. Now we got, heart disease. We got what we call liver steatosis, but really what it is fatty liver. And I want you to, I'm going to keep using this term, and I want you to remember this term, fatty liver, all right? And that we're going to go over why that's important. Liver is our metabolic engine, pharmacy, that its job is to look at the balance between what we eat and what we spend. So if this is in imbalance towards too much eating and too little spending, it's going to have to preserve. If is the ATM account, okay, that kind of has an internal protocol, runs by itself, all right? Or if you eat too little and you spend too much, then the liver will know what to do. Will tell the fat and muscle to burn and produce more calories. So liver is going to be very important. Because the liver is fatty, then I have only one thought for you. That means the liver thinks there is an excess. That's why it converts into fat, okay? So we'll talk about that. And it really, at the end of the day, all this to a decline in life expectancy and quality. We have every data I can imagine about that. And I'm just going to summarize that, what Angelina Jolie has said, quod men nutrit, med destruit. What feeds me and nourishes me also can destroy me if it's too much and the wrong stuff. So, and indeed, the data, actually, the scientific data is confirmed at this point, as this is data from 2 years ago, that was a paper was published in Science. They look at everybody who's obese and has diabetes, and they did genetic analysis. They can only found genes that we blame on that in less than 1% of people who are obese, or 5 to 10% of those with diabetes. So we are behind to blame all these conditions on actually genes. And this is a true sad picture that's posted out there. It's true. This was actually on the gas pump station, and one day I was doing, I said, why am I even using this? And anyway, but this is what it was. Oh, mama, that's good. All right? And that's important. That's important. It's a fantastic advertisement. All right? My newest passion and obsession, and I've got an addiction is that I like to fish trout. And I can tell you, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning. Suddenly I can't fish no trout no more. Turns out I'm not using the proper bait, okay, right now. They have changed. It's the fall season. And it's the same thing. What I mean by advertisement is just a bait for us, all right? And that's what matters. So I need you to stay focused. And if you see it advertised, the rule number one I'm teaching you to think twice. Unless you're absolutely desperate, don't buy it. Because they have a single bypass burger. They have a double bypass burger. It comes also with fries. They have a triple bypass burger. It comes with a free beer. And you got a quadruple burger. It comes with a pack, free pack of Lucky Strike. And this is, you can Google this. It's right out there. This place exists. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly where. But having said that, they claim they're not serving this unless there is a nurse over there in the I don't know if it's a joke and it's just a way of advertising. It's the real deal. But this is what people do, okay? All right. And so sure, that's an example of what we mean, industrialization, mass production of our food. So remember, my job is to demystify and point the chemicals. There are the big elephants in the room that matter. So one is, when we talk about saturated fat, and I show that, and I'm going to go back to there are different kinds of fats and which one is important. But then the other thing that's really more important, diabetes. When I tell diabetes, when I say diabetes, what do you think? Immediately, sugar, right? Oh, we eat too much sugar. And guess what? The data shows that. That's exactly what it is. That's the obvious statement. And indeed, if you look here, the sugar consumption since the 1700s, and you look at obesity, this went up, okay? As a matter of fact, our government and our American Heart Association made a strong commitment to try to limit the fat intake in the 70s. Once we made the correlation with high cholesterol and coronary disease, we have shift gears. Well, actually, the industry have listened to them, and they cut down the fat, and we did go down on the fat consumption, believe it or not. Unfortunately, there was no checkpoint about carbs and sugar. So while we went down on that, the other side went up tremendously. And that's how we noticed diabetes. There is sugar consumption has been going up in the last 30 years, like we talked. Mostly seem to be processed based on high fructose corn syrup, which is very cheap, and is the cheapest form and much sweeter, the regular one. And that's basically allows that you can, what is important to produce on global scale and preserve and give taste, give you the bait, the hook, is actually happens to be cheap because corn is sponsored by the government. So this is what keeps it cheap. And then the refined cane sugar and beet sugars are going down. Really, right now, on average, each of us has eats about 130 pounds sugar a year. All right, but just to compare how we have changed, because their changes are important, tells us what's happening. Is in about 200 years ago, we had about equivalent of a Coke or a Pepsi every 5 days. All right, and now we have an equivalent of 17 of those every 5 days. 17-fold. Now, in 200 years, our body could not possibly change that much 17 times, okay? So you have to understand we're overwhelming our liver with all this sugar that come any which way. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. What I'm trying to say is it's in everything, so it adds up. That's what it makes it very difficult. I'll never say, do I ever drink Coca or Coca-Cola, Pepsi? Absolutely. I buy it for Christmas, for Easter, and we celebrate. Do I do that every day? Absolutely not, all right? So I totally enjoy it, but unfortunately, I have to take into account everything else. All right. The worst part, you see, was the single most important sugar that I would say that makes sense that for 6 million years our body has seen, and that's called honey. By the way, that was the only thing we used to have. All right, and that's how we are. We actually, I always say, if you absolutely have a sweet tooth, just go natural. Just don't use tremendous amounts, and you use honey and get rid of everything else. It's fine, all right? And that's going down, and may go down soon very much because the bees are going down too. And our American Heart Association says that you shouldn't have added sugars more than equivalent what's in one Coca-Cola a day, which is about equivalent of about 10 teaspoons a day. A teaspoon is 4 grams. So I want you to remember that formula. 1 teaspoon is 4 grams, the same for salt. We're going to play with that numbers. You're going to see how, then we are going to learn how to read labels with that. And you have basically, in average, somebody in this country drinks about 22 of those teaspoons per day of sugar or eats, right? That's about 3 times more than is recommended. Well, guess what? Our kids are even more, all right? I wonder, why do the kids do that? Anybody has an idea? It's simple. We start taking them to the proper places since age 2 or 3. They get that addiction way earlier than us. They're going to be way ahead of the game. All right? It's very simple. We did that. But you can blame it, just like smoking in the 60s when the actually cigarette companies were saying, well, actually smoking may be good for you. All right? Well, now we know it's not good for you. But we can do that. Now, it's easy to blame and point fingers with cigarettes and alcohol and drugs because everybody recognizes that. Well, what do you do when it's about food? Well, there's some good food and there's not such a good food. This is one of them. They have too much every day. I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. And really, well, this equivalent of 10 teaspoons for sugar, all right, why is it that it works? And why is it, I show the consumption goes up, but do you think the consumption goes up just because me and you start to say, we just go and we want more and more and more? That's not how it started. It's very simple. If you actually look at the history of every beverage company, wherever they're including Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, they start with a very low amount of sugar, and every decade the sugar keeps going up. They keep adding more and more and more, all right? And what that means is very simple. There is studies showing that sugar, it's addictive. As a matter of fact, it's more addictive than cocaine. The experiment has been done both in humans, in rats, no matter where we look. If you make people have a binge of sugar or have a binge of Coke, and we do a PET and we see where exactly it's going, how intense. Sugar creates more intense pleasure in exactly the same spot like cocaine, all right? And the rule of addiction is that once you get addicted and you want more and more. Why do you want more and more? Because everything that makes me have a pleasure, the signal has to turn off, because the way you get the pleasure, the neurons, the nerve cell, release a transmitter, a chemical, that while it stimulates other neurons so you get the pleasure, it can kill it if it's overactivated. It's like when you're running, you can only run for so long without crashing, with your heart. It's the same thing. So they need to protect themselves. So they develop secondary feedbacks to try to cut that down when the next one comes. If that happens, you ain't going to get the same taste from the same kick of 2 teaspoons of sugar. What do you do when you want? Well, you go up on it, and you go up on it. That's the rule of addiction. You'll never see somebody who's addicted to anything but going only one way, more and more frequent. Is the same thing. Is the same principle. All right? And brain is actually designed not to ever turn off these 2 signals, salt and sugar. It turns off every other signal. You can eat fat for only so much. You will stop after a while. You get sick from it. Same with meat. Same with everything else but sugar and salt. Why? Because brain cannot tolerate even 1 minute without sugar. It will die immediately. So it has to make the path of least resistance. It has to let it go. We've been designed, no matter what, we will never say no to sugar or carbs or whatever that is. Because otherwise our brain will collapse. It's a matter of minutes. And that's how we have patients, unfortunately, with diabetes, who they have hypoglycemia. They are found dead. Okay? So that's important. So we're designed not to ever turn off that signal. So that's what happens. The second problem is sodium. We need the sodium to maintain our blood pressure and our water in the system. So in condition of dehydration, or if we have bad environments before, that was very important, or if we bleed. So we don't turn off the salt signal either. So if you put it in, it can only accumulate, and that's important. And while we try to maintain the balance, you'll want more. So we have the taste that's designed to be addicted to 2 things, sugar and salt. So I can tell you, I'm not a chef, I can cook, but I can create a delicious food that I can addict anybody. I can come up with any recipe just knowing these 2 little facts. Okay? All right. And our biggest problem is actually not just obesity in grown-ups, it's obesity in kids and actually obesity in neonates. The highest rate of obesity is actually in 6 months old kids, particularly the ones who are fed with formula, because that's what we do. We're giving them burgers and sodas when we do that. Okay, high fructose corn syrup, the same chemicals go straight there. There's nothing to it. So we're going to have serious problems much later on. Also, it changes their taste forever already. So let me deconstruct and demystify a little bit these little chemicals that what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you, okay, when we read the label, I'm going to tell you, this is the chemical, this is the number you need to know. This is the chemical, this is the number you need to know. And this is what we're going to learn now. Okay? All right, so let's see, first of all, fat. Let's figure what's wrong, what's right with the fat. Saturated fats, basically is the solid fat. Anything you see greasy, that's saturated fat. We have learned now, and actually there's a strong move in the industry now. Government already made the rules, and I see this. Everybody wants to get rid of what we call now trans fatty acids. Those are bad for you, causes coronary disease. And guess what? Most of the industry has made the vow, and they're actually removing it in a lot of restaurants, so that's a good start. So you don't have to worry about the trans fat no more. That doesn't mean that you don't have to worry about the rest of the fat. As a matter of fact, I'll go over everything that you see here in crackers, margarine, and everything, with rare exceptions like the Benecol kind of margarine, is really still fat until proven otherwise. And really, now there's a shift for those who are more educated or read blogs, or particularly younger ones. Polyunsaturated. So we have saturated fat, we have unsaturated fat, okay? The polyunsaturated fat, there are 2 kinds. The simple way of saying it, I would say the good kinds and not so good ones, okay? And really, the good ones are what we call the omega-3s. You just need to remember that, omega-3. The omega-6s, in the past, is present in all those plant oils, like flaxseed oil, you name it. There's all kinds of sexy oils, coconut oils, every oil that now they say this is a new thing, is way healthier, coconut is healthy. There is nothing healthy about something that originally is natural, but then you use it in unnatural amounts, okay? So rule of math is plus times minus still equals minus, okay? So you have to take that into account. No, I don't subscribe to any of those oils. There are 2 oils that are absolutely okay. We don't have any evidence that will make it worse, okay? That's the olive oil and the avocado oil. Every other oil, more or less, are going to cause some damage if you use it too much, okay? And why is that? Because these polyunsaturated fats, the biggest source indeed, are great sources in the plants. But the plants have a way of producing 20 times more 6s than 3s, because that's what they need. Well, 6s are part of our inflammatory pathways. You will need there's a compound. Each time we have a flu, each time we have diabetes, any disease that's been there for a long time, that disease is maintained in the body, what we call inflammation, by everything that's derived from one substance. It's called arachidonic acid. You don't have to memorize that. Just know that you can make that in the body, that arachidonic acid, which creates all the inflammatory markers, unless you have omega-6s. So take-home message is that, sure, somebody's going to basically give me, I want $1, but I got to pay $20 back, okay? And that's what it is. It's a pawn shop, okay? If you were to get all your good omega-3s just from this kind of oils, it ain't gonna work. And it will be okay if you are young and healthy and you're a 3-year-old kid, you don't have any inflammation, but you have anybody, you're 6 years old or older, you got a little high blood pressure, anything you have, whatever is there is gonna be aggravated because you're feeding fuel to the inflammation in the system. And we have evidence that's accumulating for that, okay? So far I succeed and tell you there's only one that's good. That's all you need to remember, okay? That's omega-3. And guess what? That's vanishing from our diet, okay? Here is the deal. We take our animals, cows, this is a study, they switch them from grass-fed, which is pasture, like we used to do it 200 years ago. They switch them to grains. By the way, that's considered organic. Grains is organic. That means they don't give them antibiotics. They don't give them anything else. I'm not talking about the one where they give them meat, feed, and antibiotics or some other things. That's not organic. And guess what? Within about 3 months, you know, it takes them about 3 to 6 months to fatten and double their weight. They get about 800-900 pounds. They buy them from farmers, and then they have to be up to 1,800-2,000 pounds in 3-6 months. That's exactly the time it takes. So everything that was omega-3s and good fat is gone from the meat and from the milk. So we used to have that source. We used to drink milk that like that. It's gone. And not only that, you'd say, well, how about organic? Would that make a difference? Well, there are a couple of things that happens when you ask a cow to switch from grass or cellulose to grain. Grain is like sugar for us. Basically, it's their carbs. They love corn. That's how we like everything from corn too. A lot of calories. So it's polymerized sugar, nothing else. And when you switch that, look what happened with their gut. Their gut will change. Instead of they have cellulase, which is supposed to cut the grass and release their sugar that way. Well, if that's the case, they don't need any bacteria. But if they switch to grain just like us, well, they become humanized with their stomach and their bowel. And they start to have to grow bugs, E. coli, because the bugs then will have to digest that sugar in order to release the nutrients to the cow that will go into the system. So every animal that's organic fed, even with grains, because we switch them from grass, they also acquire those bugs, E. coli, Staph aureus. So no wonder whether it's organic or not organic meats we have out there, if you actually if you go, you can check Consumer Report, you can check any website. This is free public knowledge that nobody wants to know or hear about it. Pretty much at any given time, if you were to check random, any meat, anywhere, whether it's in Kroger's section or anywhere you go that's on sale, up to 20%, up to 40% will have at least one of these bugs in the meat, whether it's preserved, whether it's or not, it doesn't matter unless it's been cooked, all right? And then up to 20% will have a resistant bug. That means even if we give an antibiotic, we cannot cure it. And the only reason why most of us don't get sick is because, hopefully, we cook it at least 170 degrees to kill the bug, all right? And second, of course, other than washing, and second, we don't have immune problems. We are not compromised. But those people who have my patients with congestive heart failure, those are easy to get those. So in other words, our immune system takes care of business most of the time. But that doesn't mean we don't know they are there. And no matter what we do, that's the main source of our bacteria that we have, all right? So, but that's one thing that you need to be aware of. What are you going to do with the information? No, that's your problem. Just know until then that whether it's organic or not organic, there's absolutely no difference into the type of bacteria that are contaminating our meats from anywhere, all right? Because that doesn't secure anything. I showed you. They're popular. They have it. Sure, using antibiotics creates more resistant bacteria, but what really secures that you eat a healthy meat that's not contaminated. You got to make sure they are, those who go with rare business, you better be careful with your rare wish, okay? You need to go at least medium. My advice for you, or at least 170 degrees that needs to be cooked, okay? All right, so, and you see, it doesn't matter what grain you do. This is pasture. This is omega-6, omega-3. Remember, you want to have more omega-3s than omega-6. That's exactly if the grass is, if the cow is grass-fed. You switch to any version of grains. I'm not talking about, and I'm not talking about GMO. I'm talking about organic kind of food. Omega-3s are almost gone. Okay, doesn't matter. Cows don't do. So we change their composition of the meat that we eat. That you may think, well, but the taste is good. What does the problem does it make? Well, it's a problem. That's the only source of good fat that we have. By the way, you guys know our brain is made a lot from omega-3s, about 60%. Did you know that when a mom has a baby, that the head is probably the biggest part of the body when they are delivered? That brain growth absolutely sucks every omega-3 you can imagine from her body. We have actually postpartum depression, hypothyroidism. After 6 months, many of the women who deliver a baby, they have depression, they have stuff, and we have studies showing you back the omega-3s from fish oil, and they get better. So even we have every reason to believe we are deprived. Now, we have very little data, and I'll go over what is known that in advanced diseases like heart attack and heart failure is going to make a difference. But we have at least reasons to know, hey, this is missing from what we are eating, and actually we need it. That I can tell you, okay? All right, so where is it coming from? Not so much from plants. By the way, avocado is a good source, and English walnuts are a good source. If you were to pick between different walnuts or different things, avocado is a better source. Still, that ratio is there, but it's actually probably the best if I were to pick a plant to go there. The second thing, and probably the most important source, is really fish and krill. All right. Somehow, Mother Nature designed that these guys will accumulate lots more omega-3s, less omega-6. It's very fascinating. They don't ever get infections. They actually have a great immune system. But having said that, really that's the best source. The key with that, you got to know what kind of fish to eat, because in the last 10 years, mercury in the ocean has increased by 50%. So a fish that's at the top of the food chain that eats other fish and lives at least a year is very likely is going to be loaded with mercury. And I can tell you, there are consumer reports. It's been every year they keep checking mercury levels in everything fish that is preserved or is not preserved. Turns out one can of tuna fish, it's enough every 2 weeks. Actually, no, one a week. One a week, it's enough for us to get mercury poisoning. That's it. One a week. Okay? All right. So why? Because tuna, it actually gets bigger and bigger, lives longer and longer. Of course, there are fewer and fewer the ones who live long because we fish them. Having said that, eats other fish, we eat other fish. The same with sharks. Opposite is true. Salmon lives less than a year, or 2 years. Trout, tilapia, those are small fish that don't live long. Those are unlikely they're going to get enough mercury, so you can use this. Or if you buy fish oil, and you make sure you buy from small little things like krill or small fish, that'll be less likely they'll be with mercury, okay? But I just give you a direction. So at least you have an idea. By the way, the thing I told you with tuna fish is published. It's public, stuff. Of course, you have to sign up for Consumer Reports, 20 months a year. But I'm just saying it. If you actually read those, at least they try to study it. How biased or unbiased it is, I don't know, but that's as good as it gets. Okay? All right. So what is the deal that what I call industrial feeding? That means we don't raise our animals anymore. We don't raise our farm anymore. We not only that, but we don't even process. We don't even cook for ourselves. Pretty much, we are completely decapitated from the beginning all the end. The only thing we know is we put it in our mouth. That's all we know. And everything that I just put there, that's called processed food by most of the people. I call it industrial. But the bottom line, what is the problem with it? Here's what the problem. Lots of empty calories. Empty calories. I mean empty calories. It just satisfies the taste, nothing else. All right? Why is it empty calories? Has anybody eaten pizza? Yes. All right, you're watching a game. It's a nice game. It's going to be for 4 hours. Would you stop eating pizza as long as you have supply and as long as it's a game? No. If it weren't empty calories, you'll be full and you'll stop eating, but you're not. You'll keep eating. It is true. Your brain is starving, and I'll prove that to you. All right? Same with the sodas. Lots of empty calories, and is addictive. That's why you keep eating. They know what to do. What are the two elements that makes it addiction? Sugar and salt. Sweet and salty. Remember that. Lots of processed bad fat. What's bad fat? Everything but omega-3s. Easy. all right? I'm not saying I never eat that. I eat that. I'm going to grill some nice barbecue and whatever it is. But the key is you can't have that every day. You can start your breakfast with turkey sausage, your lunch with the burger, and your dinner with the steak. If you do that, you're ruined. You're going to be my customer. I know that. Okay? Absolutely. I will give it to you in writing, and I got no problem. I know I will collect on it. Don't worry about it. Okay? All right? Okay. So lots of processed bad fats. Saturated, I showed you everything is solid grease. That's saturated. Trans fat is the bad one. Don't worry about it. And you can look for it, and if you see it, then don't buy that product. But actually, industry is taking care of business of that one. It's going to disappear soon, pretty much across the world. I don't know about in China, but I know in Europe and here, both the government and the industry actually is taking measure. They're still present here and there in little mom and pop shops, but it's getting away, all right? PUFA, what we call the not saturated, the unsaturated fatty acid, omega-6, just because it's vegetable oil doesn't mean if you have in large amounts, it's going to be good for you, okay? That's the problem with that. But 3, what is really good fat is omega-3s. As far as I'm concerned, you can eat almost unlimited amounts of fish and krill and particularly anything that's grass-fed. The key is, though, to have small fish, whatever is that, so it doesn't live long and you don't want shark. You don't want, if you were to eat shark, tuna, all those big fish, you got to eat small and rare, okay, from time to time, okay, very low. All right? Lots of processed carbs. So carbs are not, you see, it's not just sugar. I use sugar to give you the idea of the sweet taste. That's how you can identify. There is a processed version of it, and that's what the key ingredients is. Sucrose and fructose. And fructose comes from the fructose corn syrup. So learn this label if you didn't know. Look in any labels you read that's processed. Look for the keyword high fructose corn syrup, other than trans fat that we're talking about, okay? So try to limit that. It's very important. Lots of sodium. Well, I told you, if it's large scale, you have to preserve it. You can't preserve anything without sodium. Do you know for anybody, so is anybody here who doesn't take every day some form of pill? Okay, I'm neutral. What I'm saying is, every single medication we give you, anything that has a solid state, you cannot preserve that substance unless you add sodium. So, as a matter of fact, there's a study that came out in Great Britain. The highest source of sodium intake in Great Britain every day in mid-40s females, believe it or not, are the Advils, okay? Because 40% of them, they got migraine headaches. They had to pop the Advil, all right? By the way, it's close to here too, the same. So believe it or not, that's a source of sodium. No, you can't preserve anything without sodium. We have here a professor of pharmacology who will tell you that. Every pill is done that way. There is no pill without the keyword ingredient sodium there. So that's another source. I know, I give it to you. That's how I give you sodium. All right? So it's from everywhere. You can't escape. Okay. Problem is that we don't have essential minerals. The same thing I didn't show you, calcium, magnesium. Selenium is important for the immune system and antioxidant power. Goes away. A, B, D is all the other stuff. I am not advocating go back and take your multivitamin. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this kind of feeding and eating associates with lacking of this kind of ingredients. That's all I'm saying. Lots of protein, but not necessary amino acids, not essential amino acids. Those are important. There are some things that would be missing there. All right? Now, let me, this is a real case. Everybody heard of Morgan Spurlock? It's the guy who went to McDonald's and he said for a month, I'm going to eat a burger every day and fries and then I'm going to check myself. So went to the doctor before and after, and within, of course, a month, he got so sick, he almost had prediabetes, fatty liver, high blood pressure, moody, depressed, the whole 9 years. The doctor said, you got to stop, man. That's it. He stopped. It took him a year to get back to normal, okay? So he done that by just eating burgers and carbs and all that. But there is another guy who said, you know what? I want to eat healthy. I'm going to do my own. So it's an Australian who a year ago did this experiment, okay? It's in a movie, that sugar film. I haven't watched it, Damon Gamo. But this is the result of it. Basically, he wanted to say if he eats the strict diet according to the guidelines, the government guidelines of healthy, low-fat food, and high sugar content, which, by the way, if you lower the fat, you got to go high sugar. There's no other escape. And that's what the industry sells out nowadays, and that's what's in the guideline. Within 3 weeks, the formerly healthy Gamo became moody and sluggish. A doctor gave him the shocking diagnosis. He was beginning to develop fatty liver disease. Remember that buzzword I was telling you about? What does it mean, fatty liver? The liver's job is to see whether you're eating too much. If you have too much, it has to store. It can only store in two main organs, itself and the fat. All right? Can we store the fat in the brain? No, the skull doesn't get bigger. We're going to die, as a matter of fact. Can we do it in the heart muscle? No, you can't, because it has to be a muscle and function. So when the liver sees, it doesn't matter, but is the first station from the gut is the liver. The liver is looking, do I have excess or do I have deficiency? And the brain is actually signaling that, it's telling, because the liver is controlled by the brain. Brain is just telling him, I want you to make sure we're going to be 150 pounds today. All right? Good. And that's what the brain does. But once you gain the weight, the brain resets after 2 or 3 weeks and a month or a year, and will say, oh, now we are 170. I'll tell the liver, keep 170. We'll always try to keep whatever weight is happening in that particular moment. And that's his telling, and then the liver looks and say, well, if I want 150, then I have to either burn more calories or I got to add or something like that. But bottom line, all it means if you have fatty liver, the same way if you have excessive fat, that's the elephant in the room, you have excess and abundance of empty calories. And your liver is going to just store. And it's going to store in itself and will cause diabetes. That's the source of insulin resistance. And will tell the organs and the fat, and will tell the other organs who cannot store, it will tell them, don't eat, don't eat. All right? And that's called insulin resistance. Sugar cannot get back into those cells unless we have insulin. And the liver will release hormones or will counteract that, including the fatty acids, to tell them not to eat. So therefore, your brain is going to starve. That's why you're always hungry, believe it or not, when you eat pizza and sodas, because you're not getting anything that is telling the liver to stop doing that. It's actually it's in that mood. Then it's, oh, hey guys, it's excess. Please don't eat. That's what the liver says. The same to the heart. Almost everybody with heart failure has insulin resistance. We know that. So basically, you have organs. Liver becomes very non-democratic. It's not his fault. It's supposed to protect. All right? You can't store. We actually know in those genetic conditions when the heart or the brain start to store, you get sick. You know what Alzheimer is? It's a storage disease of the wrong protein. That's it. And then you get poisoned and you die. All right? From irreversible brain damage. Same with the heart. So his job is, knowing they cannot store, is to keep telling them not to feed themselves when there is abundance. And that is the whole mechanism. It becomes a very, if you will, dictator kind of liver. It will favor the fat in itself and will completely block the other organs from eating. And this is just the direction of the whole process. So anyway, I had no soft drink. Let's go back there now that you have that mindset when I see fatty liver. All right? So this guy's been storing everywhere, but his other organs were not eating. So you're going to have symptoms of the other organs not feeding well. I had no soft drink, no chocolate, no ice cream, so there's nothing excessive there. Gamet told Yahoo. All the sugars that I was eating were found in perceived healthy foods, like low-fat yogurts, muesli bars. I don't know what's a muesli bar. I assume it's some protein bar. But anyway, and cereals, fruit juices, sport drinks. I mean, nothing offensive. This is what our kids eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner at school, right? And we give it to them. These kind of things that often parents would give their kids thinking they're doing the right thing, all right? In that sugar film, observed that the additive impact, that all this impact his physical and mental health. Doctors call his mental functioning unstable. And the father-to-be reportedly put on nearly 40 inches of visceral fat, that's the bad kind of fat. He was on the fast track to obesity. He said his sugar-laden diet left him feeling hungry no matter how much he ate. Do you realize if you eat this, you're going to be hungrier because liver thinks that you're eating too much and it has to store and it will tell you not to eat. And it will tell your brain not to eat, but brain is still waiting to feed. So in other words, even if you get all that food, it gets shifted to only liver and the fat, and the rest of the food goes away from the other organs. That's why you're always hungry. Okay? So the type of food you eat allows you to be able to actually use a normal turn-off signal that you don't have it if you use the wrong food. Okay? All right. His final meal, which consisted of a juice, a jam sandwich, a bar, and a handful of other snacks, is similar to an ordinary child's school lunchbox. Sadly, this was easy to fit into a small plastic container. The last meal was for all the people out there, especially parents who are led to believe they are doing the right thing and healthy thing for their children. They're making an effort, yet horribly let down by the lack of integrity in marketing and packaging industry. Sugar is now in 80% of the processed food we are eating. Well, sodium is in 95, and high fructose corn syrup is in 95%. By the way, if anything you shop at Kroger, Publix, or anything else. We can remove that. That's the first step towards making, that's not added sugar. That's actually, the amount of sugar is already added too much. And I'm going to tell you how to know what amount really matters per serving, okay? All right, this is a breakfast. Which one of you has been in the hospital recently? Raise your hands. That I took care of, raise your hands. So you all suffer when I got onto you and I saw this for breakfast, all right? All right? Did you suffer or not? Be honest. I told you I'm not going to like that. All right, and here is why. We put there, and that this was allowed to be picked from the menu. What did they pick? Let me show you what you picked. All right? This is chicken sausage, only 110 milligrams of sodium per serving. But I said, hey, if you're addicted to drugs, really, if you start with one Coke or one cigarette in the breakfast, at lunch you're going to have a burger and you're going to have a steak for dinner. How is that going to help? All right? Having said that, let me see how much of this is carbs and sugars, if you were to say percent. All right, this is fat. A little bit of protein, but remember, it doesn't have the proper protein anyway. This is all carbs and starch and sugar. This is what? Okay, is this just a little sugar or a lot of sugar? Let's compare this with banana or with the strawberries. Okay, now I'll put 100 fruits on the table. 2 of them will be this. I'm going to put kids at the table, and I'm going to put everybody in this room who is morbidly obese in that room. Okay, I'm going to put also the skinny guys in the other room. All right? Guess what 2 fruits out of 100 each and every one is going to pick? Pineapple, this, and there is one more from the dry fruit race. Okay? Bottom line is, because these have 10 times more sugar than the others, you know what you're going after, you're just going after your tongue. All right, so know that. Just because it's a fruit, if you eat a lot, it ain't going to be good because it's a lot on top of a lot of a lot. This is 100% sugar. That's what you're having for breakfast. No wonder you, but what happens if you have this for breakfast? Are you going to at least be full after half an hour? No, you're just going to feel drowsy. And in an hour, you're going to be hungry again because I told you, liver sees this is too much abundance. Let me take all that away from the brain and the other organs, and you're going to be hungry again. You actually didn't eat anything. All right? This diet did the opposite. Let me show you what happened to this diabetic patient. Very nice man. He was actually that day, was on the day that I was about to send him home. Came out from the hospital, had 20 pounds of weight, got rid of it in 5 days. I was ready to send him home. He starts with this wonderful conversation. I'm so grateful. I got a nice nutritional consult. I'm doing exactly what she asked me to do. That was the breakfast. And I'm so grateful that I learned so much. Now I know what to do. I said, okay. So I turned my back, and then I see on the board the sugar was over 400. I said, hold on a second. We got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. No, I can't send him home with the sugar of 400. What happened? And unknown to me, not only they had the sugar of 100, over 400. Those who don't have diabetes, 100 is normal. Okay, all right. But he was already on a huge amount of insulin. It takes you usually a year to build to this amount of insulin. 1 year full insulin. He was never on insulin 4 days prior to the hospital. He was on a little bit of medicine that deals with that. And even he was overweight, he was handling just fine what he was eating at home. Here, following our distraction, our diet, he actually got a sugar 400. And my colleagues, without telling me, they already put him on mega amount doses of insulin. So basically, all I'm trying to say is if the patient just comes in our system, it's exactly the food we're supposed to prescribe by guidelines. In the hospital, you will get much sicker. And it's why? Because if you picked the wrong choices, it's all carbs and sugar, the liver will know what to do, all right? It doesn't matter. And why? What's the source of this food? Is this farming? Is this grass-fed anything? Anything green there? Is any protein there? You're supposed to have really about a third carbs, a third protein, and a third vegetables, fruits, or something. Well, we got 10% here, some fruits, but these all sugary fruits, okay? There's no third here. There's no balance. Even that's, and then the source of this is the same place from McDonald's. They buy the same source. There are only 2 or 3 companies in the whole country that provides exactly the same ingredients for everybody. That's why I could never understand why you need to go to a 4-star restaurant or Applebee's or whatever, where they get their meat from exactly the same place McDonald's gets it. It makes no sense to me to pay extra. It makes absolutely no sense. I would say the purpose is to show you really that the source matters. Then the choices you pick, if it's all carbs, even if it's made by the hospital who meant good, they have the same sources that has to be preserved, large scale, industrial, so you really have to be much more careful what you pick. And you know what I did to the patient? I stopped all the insulin and just sent him home, and I gave him my instruction how to do. And he texted me every day. Within 24 hours, sugar was normal. He was off the insulin, and a month later, he lost 20 pounds, and his sugar was perfect normal, no medicines, okay? But bottom line is this is not right. Just because it's in the hospital doesn't mean it's right for you. You need to learn what you need to do to select what's right. So let's learn together how to do it, all right? This is what? A protein bar. I know everybody's younger than 30. I'm sure they eat a lot of these guys, okay? Because they're protein bars. Let's see if they are. All right, we're going to go over the label. Everybody needs to follow this, okay? Can't fall asleep right now. All right, so here's calories. Everybody's focused on calories. Ignore that. Never look again at it. It's the least of the problems. All right? Because if you get 260 calories from good, healthy, grass-fed meat, you're great. That's real nutrition. I don't care where you get it. It's how you get it. And now I'm going to teach you how you get that. Okay? That makes a difference and where it's coming from. So, total fat, 10 grams. Do you see any trans fat? No. So that's a good one. That means they went with that. No trans fat. Saturated fat, okay, I don't care. As long as there is no trans fat, ideally you like to see omega-3. That's the good ones. Then we're good. Fine. Sodium, 130. All right. Sodium should be 0 in any bar when it comes from Mother Nature. All right, you had a little bit for taste. You had a little bit of reservation. I have a cutoff number of 100. If it's less than 100, I think it's okay. All right. Now, I do have a problem because 100 from milk, which provides a lot of real food, I'm okay to get sodium from that. And why I say that? Look, you can binge yourself on some sugar and you get it over. Here, total carbs, 37. Right. Sugars, 23. Dietary fiber, 5. Okay, what are the real sugars that matter here? But what's good sugar that will not be absorbed is the fiber. So you subtract from carbs the fiber. 37 minus 5 will be 32, correct? And you divide that by 4. A teaspoon equals 4. And then you have a language you can use and everybody understands. How many teaspoons of sugar do we have here? 8. Okay, so 101 chemistry, you can possibly connect protein together without carbs twice more. This is what people don't know. That's why there is no such thing as a protein bar. It's a carbs bar with a little bit of protein, only 10 grams. One way or another, the only way they can convince you that you go back and you keep buying it is the addiction, which has to include the word sodium and sugar. You will never go back and buy that if they don't do that. There is nothing to it. Nothing. All right, let's go further. I did the same thing. I said, you know what? Why don't I do a little experiment? Half of my patients with heart failure, they are obese, they have diabetes, they get congestive heart failure. Let me try to see if I can do create a mono into animals. Remember I told you I think it's not the obesity per se on all the other diseases, but how you acquire it. But what if I can do all that by just giving the same diet to a mouse? The beauty of doing those experiments is that, you know, humans are different. They have different genetic background. They start at different age to do different things. You can't really control for that. But I get the mice at a certain age, and I put them on exactly the same diet. The only thing is different, equivalent of a burger a day and a soda a day with high fructose corn syrup. And guess what? I wasn't original. I just took this diet from our hepatologist, the head of liver disease here, who now is actually the head of our GI department. And I went to him. I said, what kind of diet can I use? I don't want anything extreme. In other words, I don't want 10 burgers a day diet. I want something that's very reflected to, let's say, no more than a burger a day for equivalent for human, and a soda a day, nothing excessive, a pizza a day. And he said, well, I got a perfect diet. It's our NASH diet. I said, what's that? That's the fatty liver diet. Guess what? What he was using to create fatty liver, he thought was perfect for me to study the effects on the heart and cardiovascular system that way. I said, okay, let's go ahead. So we did the experiment. And what happens is, and we picked fructose because that's what we have in sodas in everything right now as a sweetener. There's also a key characteristic of fructose as a chemical, is that only liver can see it. And that's important because the regular glucose, now I don't want to tell you that, oh my God, fructose is only in fructose corn syrup. That's not true. It's actually present in the regular sugar. It's actually, the only difference with the high fructose corn syrup, they both have glucose and fructose. But the regular sugar, even honey, and the high fructose corn syrup, the difference is the high fructose corn syrup has more fructose ratio-wise, which makes it sweeter and cheaper. That means you can use less and have more sweetener effect. That's all. And everybody knows that from the industry, okay? And it's cheap. So it's nothing special. It's just that you have extra fructose on top of whatever you already have from the others. And that's the secret, is the cumulative effect, just like with the sodium. It's not just substance by itself. So I want to make sure, because there are companies out there come, oh, what do you have against fructose? Actually, if you were to eat only fructose, nothing else for that day, and that's your only source, actually in mice, they're shown to be protective for the heart. But that's all they get, nothing else. But that doesn't happen. When you add it, is a problem. Why? Because when you add it, liver is the only one to see excessive sugar. The pancreas cannot release the insulin, and I'll show you that. And basically, it's a problem. So what did I do? So after 12 weeks of this diet, these mice develop exactly all those conditions that I put them together in humans that I show you. They're always in the same body. It's a matter of time. All right? So once again, the obesity, the elephant in the room was just pointing to whatever is causing obesity, there is more going on underneath. And that's what happened. You get fatty liver. That's the single most important. Remember, when you accumulate, when you store the fat in the liver and in the fat. So when I see somebody chubby, particularly we call visceral, we will call the apple kind of obesity. That means it's above the belt, all right? That's the one where you're going to have the fatty liver, and that's what it means, all right? And then the rest of the organs are going to start. Then you have cholesterol problem. The heart actually got weak and dilated. I was the one who did those measurements. You know, basically, I can make somebody, anybody has heart failure here? All right. You know about your ejection fraction, right? All right, I created within 16 weeks, in 4 months, just by eating one burger and a soda a day, an ejection fraction of 30% in the mice. Okay? That's the only thing we change. And of course, they got obese, they got all the other stuff. Isn't that crazy that you can just do that and I can get my cardiomyopathy and everything else? And guess what? All that, you're telling you about the oxidized fat. Remember when you eat the French fries, all that good stuff? All right, that's oxidized. That's the part that tastes great. That's the part also causes colon cancer. And guess what? You think the body won't know. This is heart that I took from mice and I stain it for the exact same fat. I see it in the heart. It oxidizes the fat. What you understand the oxidization is very simple. Have you ever reused the oil? You did your own whatever frying, and then you kept reusing the oil, and it smells like that? That is what I'm talking about. That's poisonous, and you can never regenerate it, okay? It just stays like that, all right? And you see it in the heart. We see it, and that's part of the aging. The heart ages faster, liver ages faster. That's how you create disease, and it's cumulative. And I know you're getting a little, oh, well, where is he going with all this? Well, I'm not going to insist over this, but bottom line, this combination of abundance of chemicals that are perceived by the liver as a storage need is what causes the problem. It's everything from everywhere. Right. So if you have fructose on top of that, fructose seems like alcohol. It goes into the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, the liver only can see it. Actually, it's not seen by the muscle, so muscle cannot burn that to say, okay, I'm happy. The brain doesn't burn it to say I'm happy, but I just got the kick, I got the sweet taste. Well, why am I not feeling the good from it? And what you do, you're going to eat more when you do that, all right? And basically, it creates like a starvation. It's like you know your mom is cooking, you haven't eaten for 12 hours. You smell the steak, you hear the noise. Yeah, what's happening? I'm hungry. Ain't coming. And that's the signal happening for your brain. And you're going to eat some more, all right? And that's very important. Why? Because it's not just the fructose that creates exactly the same psychological effect, but also every sweetener we have around. Everything. So all that Splenda, aspartame, whatever you name it, when you fool yourself, yeah, they have 0 calorie, but it fools your brain, you're going to eat 10 times more and actually get fatter. As a matter of fact, every study we've ever had about diabetes and obesity, if you put them on sweeteners versus regular sugar, the one on sweeteners always get worse with everything. That is the ugly truth, okay? Because it changes the brain. Yes, it brings 0 calorie with that particular cup of coffee, but then you're going to eat 3 times more during the day. You're going to be hungry like crazy. And overall, you make it worse. So don't go for that. In other words, you need to learn to stop that addiction effect by de-sweetening your taste. You need to keep lowering down because the industry did exactly opposite. And you go for that sweetness index, what I call. All right? That leads to starving and addiction. Then you get more hungry and you keep eating. All right? That's why you'll never see a pizza selling place with water only and nothing else. You know, it could be $3 water, but you're not going to do that. You know why? They will refuse to do that. You know why? Because if you drink water, you'll feel full, you'll stop eating. But if you have the fructose in anything or sweetener, you'll keep going back and forth. And therefore, CC pizza, all you can eat pizza, I would, you know, well, up to me, that's the addiction when all you can eat problems. Right? So you can go to that place, just drink only water, and you'll eat way less than if you drink the others. Okay, so all this fructose hangs around, creates the brain to go crazy, be hungrier, you know, your pancreas doesn't release the insulin, so then you have higher sugar in the system to begin with. It's basically you ate, but nobody knows but the liver that you ate. So liver sees that as, well, we have abundance. We'll convert it immediately to fatty liver, uric acid. That, anybody else, has anybody ever had gout? Oh, my old customers. All right. And so what did they tell you if you have gout? Oh, it's all from your diuretics, Sorescu, right? Well, that is probably the pushing force. In other words, it will aggravate what's there. But the true cause is, what caused your heart failure and the need for diuretics and the sodium came with the same, with the fructose. That's what's causing it. You cut the fructose from your diet, I promise you, you're going to cut in 10 times your gout problem. All right, that's because the liver just does that in high blood pressure. All right, anyway, so let's learn. So how is that learning how to read the labels? Was that useful? Let's do some more. So, all right. Here is the apple versus the pear. Apple means you have the disease kind of obesity, what we call morbid obesity. If you are a pear, that means a lot of weight is below the belt. You're way better off than the others, okay? A healthier version, so they say, from natural food. You eat that, you're going to be an apple. Oh, how about 100% juice, cranberry juice? How's that? That's healthy, not from concentrates. How about that? Well, let's read the labels. Now you know everything I know. All right. Calories. Don't read the calories. Remember that? Don't read the calories. All they did, they just give you some debate, so you go the wrong direction here. All right. Total fat, 0. Excellent. Sodium, 35. Less than 100 is very low. Don't bother me. Right? Total carb. Not the sugars. Total carb. This time they're honest. They match. Most of the time, I don't know. You see 35 grams of carbs, and then you see only 2 of sugar, and you say, oh, where is the other? I don't understand. You don't see any fiber. What it is there, they didn't disclose it. That's all. All right? Yes, and by the way, that's by law. They don't have to, if they say this is natural, anywhere on the label, if they say they're natural ingredients, by law, sugar is considered natural. They don't have to disclose the added sugar. It's actually, they're correct from a legal standpoint. And there's a tremendous battle right now with the FDA. Every year, government is trying to make so people disclose the amount of sugar. It's been all over the news in March. Of course, the industry does not want them to disclose the added sugar, all right? To me, I don't care. I still know how to read them. Here is carbs, 35 grams. Easy. You just divide by 4 because there is no fiber, right? So how much is that? 8 teaspoons of sugar, but this cup, okay? Is that how you want to sweeten your coffee? Go ahead. But that's a problem. There's nothing natural and not from concentrate from this one. But it's got 100% vitamin C, all right? We should be good. So you're asking for $1. You are borrowing $1, but you have to pay back $35, okay? That's what you get. Okay. So how about if you're true natural? Yeah, there is a rule of thumb that Sorescu has it. That's what I want you to write down. 3 teaspoons equivalent, 12 grams, okay? And why am I using that? It's like if you were to squeeze oranges, would you guys drink it without necessarily having to add any sugar? So that's sweet enough. And it's 3 teaspoons. It's okay. I like it 1 teaspoon, but okay, we can go all the way up to 3. So that's my rule of thumb. So let's see, but on the other side, do I need to read labels for this one? You see how easy it is? You just get your veggies, do that. It takes 10 minutes to put it on a grill. It's not really that, right? So natural plus unnatural amount, okay, equals unnatural. So let me go over that. So moderation is the key. I don't care how natural is what's originally supposed to be natural. Examples. Stevia is the new kid on the block. I'm going to attack it. And I really hope Coke and Pepsi stop spending any dollar in stevia because it's just waste of money. All right? Why? It ain't going to be any healthier. What happens is they will always go after products that appear natural to the public. And it's bad because actually it's very difficult to grow it. They're spending a lot of money to do that, okay? And it has to look natural because it has to be appealing to the general population and to the laws that they are natural, all right? But it has to have the same or more amount of sweetening taste. So they want to keep that high sweet taste that you are addicted to so you don't change your taste for the product. And I don't want you to do that because you're addicted. Have you guys ever had to deal with your own addiction? The real addiction, you have to maintain that intensity, okay? And how does it work? How do you ever get somebody to not be addicted anymore? What you do, you start to gradually go down on the dose? No, it never works. Like a smoker who stops from a pack and then he goes back to 15 cig pack, it never works, ever. The only way to disaddict somebody, you got to go cold turkey. All right? Because that's only then the brain will go, you suffer, it ain't going to be easy. But you go cold turkey, and after a month or 2 or 3, you have new bud taste, you have new brain cells and new synapses. That suddenly what appeared to have no taste, you'll be like a newborn baby. Suddenly a little bit of anything will have great taste for you. And that's the key. I need you to change your sweet taste, your salt taste that the other guys in the last 50 years have addicted you to. And that's the only solution. We know there is no other way. It's done. Every behavioral version, anywhere you look, is the same way. So I don't want you to maintain that. Okay? If you do that, then I'm going to show you what happens to you. All right? Now, industrial apple juice, I'm going to give you some examples. So that's why I don't think this should be the future. I think what happens is industry should do what industry does. Keep your product that people love there. Also offer a product that doesn't have that junk, just equivalent 2 teaspoons of sugar. Something normal. And you know what? Some people like that. You have given choices. People can do anything they want. Can't. Even if I tell you of this, you can still go and eat whatever you want to do. But I think this is the key for now. Offer those choices and keep going up to unnatural levels. I'll show what levels is going right now. Cranberry juice and raisins. Okay, so here is raisins. Everybody loves raisins, right? Raise your hand. Everybody loves it. Come on, everybody loves raisins. Oh, we got a whole, list of why this is good for you, okay? But what I like the most is this. Helps to gain weight in a healthy way. Is it really? Do they think that everybody's a total dumb idiot? All right? What is that? I just showed you that every new weight gain in this country is always with diabetes and disease. What kind of healthy version is that? All right? So they actually admit that it's loaded with carbs. All right? And then we have 100 other things, and no, forget about it. But let's see. Let's read again the label, okay? Don't believe me. Let's read it. Okay? Okay, this is raisins seedless. I'm going to put your label on a company because it doesn't matter, all the same. Really. Calories. Don't look at the calories. Okay. It's fat. 0. Nothing problem. 0 cholesterol. 0 sodium. Wonderful. Potassium. That's how you want a true vegetable or fruit. Total carbs, 34 grams. All right. So how many teaspoons of sugar we have here? 34 minus 2, 32, divided by 4, it's 8. 8 teaspoons. And guess what? Somehow, really, technically, the fiber and the sugar should match the total carb. There's a difference there. We don't know what happened. Maybe it just disappeared. Anyway, but you have 8 teaspoons. Have you guys seen that little sunrise, little packets that we give you for breakfast and lunch and dinner in the hospital? How is it? This big. All right. How do they manage to squeeze 8 teaspoons of sugar in that? It's a genius. They got their chemistry just right. You see, it's always 8 teaspoons. Did you notice we keep practicing? It's always 8 teaspoons. Exactly the stuff that you like. Right now, your sweetness index for your tongue, you've been trained as baits for them. They know exactly what they need to do, so you go for it. All right? It's always 8 teaspoons. And there's only one way it can go, higher. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you this. How about, hey, if raisins are good for you, if you make muffins from raisins, that should be even better, right? Here. This is a blog website. This particular young lady is very successful. She was able, this particular muffin, 410 calories. Trust me, don't worry about calories. Don't read it. You know why? Because unless it says 2,000, it doesn't impress you. That is the reality, okay? So you learn not to be scared anymore. You're immune to it. You got desensitized. Forget about calories. Let's look at trans fat. It's good, no problem, 0. Sodium, 400. Do we have a problem with that? Yes. All right. By the way, it should be 0. They added from that. All right. Total carbs, 77 grams. Oh, this is a good one. Dietary fiber, 12. Okay, what will be the sugar? 77 minus 12, 64. 64 divided by 4, 20 teaspoons of sugar. That looks like a mega muffin to me. All right? But up to here is just sugar. Okay? All right? That's all. Well, what's the trick in cooking like that? I mean, I always say a good cook is the one who can use just spices and ingredients and not salt or sugar. That's how you know they're good and give taste. Okay? There's no trick. Anything is tasty like that. And, you know, and again, numbers don't add up. I don't know how they manage only 31 grams when I got 64. Okay? Because for the liver, what matters is the carbs minus the fiber. Other than that, you will eat and you'll use everything else. All right? So this ain't good either. You know, all the others, just ignore everything else. And I don't want you to ever look at the percent. They do that based on some, whatever they think is normal for a certain adult, but that's a moving target because every 5 years it's changed. It's just pull out of a hat. There is no consensus about that. And every country has different rules. Obviously, nobody knows what should be. Okay? So don't look at percent and just stop here at these numbers I gave you. And look for high fructose corn syrup on top of that. So this ain't that good, is it? All right? Well, how about orange juice? I got to hit that one too. Okay. So don't look at the calories. Let's look. No fat, good. So no sodium, great. This is not from concentrate. Total carbs, 26 grams. Dietary fiber, 0. Sugar's only 21. Now you tell me where the 5 grams went to. But the teaspoon just got shoved, you know, they shave it off, okay? I don't know. But it's 26 divided by 4. It's about 6, right? A little bit. Well, now this is published from, if you were to freshly squeeze your own oranges, how much sugar will be. And you see, 21 grams, you grade it, 21 minus 4 will be 17. So 14 17s, but it's less sugar than here. This is supposed to be no sugar added, not from constant, like the purest thing you can imagine at Whole Foods. All right? And they still managed to add that. So this is why I came up, 14 here, I came up with 12, just a rule of thumb, because it depends on what oranges you use. Like I saw in different places, you can Google on images. It goes all the way, anywhere between 10 and 14, so I took the average, okay? But that's that, all right? How about cranberry juice, okay? All right, this is what we got on the raw cranberries. All right, total carbs 13, sugars 4 grams, a teaspoon. All right, how about in the ocean spray cranberry juice? All right, sugars, this was the French version, but anyway, 31 divided by 4, approximately 8 teaspoons. So you go up from 1 to 8 teaspoons. You know why you need to go from 1 to 8 teaspoons? Have you guys ever eaten freshly squeezed cranberry juice? Just made? I made my wife do it. Because she didn't believe me, there's nothing, and when I said there's nothing natural about it, all you do, you create the kids the addiction for that increased sweet taste, so then they go for other things. And she kept, oh no, this is all great whole food stuff, there's no natural and everything. I said, here's the deal. We got a nice Vitamix. I'm going to get some cranberries, put it there. If you can drink more than 1 teaspoon of that without anything added, then you can buy any cranberry juice you want, anywhere you want it. She couldn't do that 1 teaspoon. It's so sour, so impossible to drink. You have to add 7 teaspoons of sugar extra so it's palatable. By the way, this comes, I'm quoting the presidents of Ocean Spray who actually just said that, okay? That if you wouldn't add that sugar, it would not be palatable. You wouldn't drink it. It has to add the sugar. Therefore, he's fighting tooth and nail, not to have to disclose the amount of sugar he has to add, okay? All right, so that is what it is. So no cranberry juice. How about apple juice? My favorite. Everybody's favorite. Come on. Who doesn't like apple juice? And let me tell you something. This time the Mother Nature actually got it right. Look, this is the best apple juice. Everybody agrees, right? That's on the market, all right? So they say, I don't know. And you got 29 carbs, so it's 8 teaspoons, 29, 30, about, 6, 7 teaspoons of sugar, right? Okay, well, how about the one that you squeeze yourself? Well, this is what they show. This is actually on, and this is a good website actually on, what do you call it, Trader's Joe. Actually, they have, this is from there. You can check every nutrient, every little thing that will tell you natural. And guess what? Natural, if you were to, I don't know what kind of apples they used to squeeze here, but there are about, look, they have per serving, where is that number that I was looking? Here, total cup, 30 grams. It's almost the same like nuts. So actually, there are some of them, like pineapple and apples, and certain apples for sure, that if you even make fresh, it still has a lot of sugar. And actually, some companies don't need to cheat. Why? Because it gets to that sweetness index that we know, 6 to 8 teaspoons. So who cares? We don't have to cheat. Okay? That's where we are. All right? And so that means I use this for my ribs. Okay? I use this to cook with it. I don't think I drink this because it ain't good for you. Now, if you want to see the ultimate process, absolutely industrial, really nice, sugar level, and how many teaspoons we can go, this is a newer product, or relatively newer, 2 years ago. I'm just trying to show you that the sweetness index can only go up and it will never go down once we are addicted to this. That's the rule of addiction. And how many teaspoons of sugar we have here on this wonderful Fanta pineapple? 20, 80 grams, 80 grams, 80 grams. And it's all sugar. There is no fiber here, okay? And do you know where I have all these examples from? From my patients from their room. Okay. Okay. All I do, I just read the labels and then I translate for them and they don't believe me. Now you guys are experts by now what you need to do. And my job is to point you in simple language where the problem is and have some goals, and then it's up to you what you're going to do with it. All right? Basically, this is where the industry is doing with your mouth. All right? It's the same. Have you ever played with the laser point with a cat? I should have brought my 3 cats here. All right? They will never resist to go after the laser pointer. There's absolutely no way. That's their bait. I've never met a cat who will not go after the laser pointer. Just the way it is. Same way these companies go after your mouth. It's absolutely a known fact. It's true. All right? And it will keep going, but you don't know where you're going, but they know where you're going. Okay? So eventually, I hope that after all this little explanation, all right, that you're going to do something about it. Okay? All right? You teased me with that laser pointer, so I pooped in your shoe. All right? All right? And really, at the end of the day, this is what it is when you think you're eating food. All right? I wasted my life chasing something that wasn't there. So now you have the power and the knowledge. I hope you don't want to be a cat that goes after the laser. All right? So let's go. I told you what the problem is. I taught you how to identify the problem in a very simple way. It doesn't matter. Nobody has to ever tell you what to do. And I'm going to try to go over some solution to the problem. First of all, do we need to take a break? Keep going. So is everybody still with me? You guys are not bored? I don't understand. Why all the doctors I give, them lectures, they fall asleep and they don't know how to run faster. But you guys are still here. Having said that, I do have the easy way for those who are more structure-minded and they absolutely want to go by the book. It's probably the only book that I endorse. I read everything in it. Actually, I learned it from a patient of mine who has lost 30 pounds. It's called the Mediterranean Diet ebook. And the reason what I'm saying is, number one, in the medical studies, the true science that have been out there, Mediterranean diet is probably by far the best diet in terms of the evidence-based medicine we have. So it's proven by the scientific community on the medical field, but also by this guy has absolutely no advertisement interest whatsoever. He's actually an Italian cook, and they've done a fantastic job. Explains a way that it's even better than I can explain, and it's excellent. All right, so I encourage you. You can either Google this. It's called Mediterranean Diet ebook, or you just email me, and I'll email you. It's on my handout, and I can email you back the whole PDF file, which was, by the way, this was given to me by a patient of mine. One day, he kept being, for 10 years, I kept seeing him overweight with all kinds of problems. Eventually, after 10 years, me begging him or, try to blast at him, do anything, I got angry with him, nothing worked. Anyway, a month ago, he comes in the clinic, and suddenly he lost 30 pounds. I said, what happened to you, man? What'd you do? What was the... Oh, I just have this nice Mediterranean book. And I said, oh, okay, just give it to me. He sent to me, and I read it, and I can tell it's fantastic. So, ebook, the Mediterranean diet ebook. Let me, solution. Here's, first of all, what is not to do, no matter what, okay? Dr. Oz, tell you something. If it's advertised on TV, it's not right for you, okay? Remember, there is only one reason for this show, to make money, either for TV, by the number of viewers, or for the products they sell. There is no other purpose. Then you're the cat going after the laser, after the bait. Remember that. And each time I see you do that, I'm going to go after you and I'll tell you, you want to be the cat or you want to be the human that holds the laser? What I would say is that I'm not saying everything he says is wrong, but I can tell you a lot of it is very controversial. And I do know he's very biased because he has to make money for somebody. Okay? So I'm sorry. No. All right. Source of food is most important factor. So, what I told you here, you're used to just buy something and then you cook. Well, try to figure after those little things with sodium and sugar and whatever I gave you, how to sort out what comes probably from better sources than other. Ideally grass-fed. So, source of food is the single most important factor. And I will give you a little example. How can I say that that's important? What's my proof? Well, here is... You can actually do natural experiments. You go to France and you come here, all right? And you'll be shocked that even if the portions are smaller for French, they don't eat any less than we eat. As a matter of fact, they eat more. They eat more fat, by the way. Butter is in everything, okay? They eat more sugar. Everybody knows French pastry. That's not the point. So the question is, how come they're not sicker than us? As a matter of fact, they have the way lower risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, anything you can imagine. But why is it we have per capita, we eat more, we consume more, they consume more than us, and every single thing that I just told you is bad for you, and yet they have less cardiovascular disease because they're obsessed. If you go there, they're obsessed where the food is coming from. The kids since age 2, they know, they learn when they go shopping and everything, to where they got. The animals have to be fed grass the same way that we used to be for 200 years. So their source of food is very simple. That's one of the sources. They call it the French paradox. It's not the wine, trust me, although there's nothing wrong with a glass of wine, from time to time, okay? But it's not that. We learned that. But they thought that was the source of the French paradox. Anyway, if it's natural grass-fed, nature is good. If industrial, remember, organic is still industrial. If it's on large scale, they have to do things to preserve them and do it. Whole foods process, I showed they have to use grains as opposed. Organic is probably still better than not the other one, but it's not as good as if you have actual regional, how the animal used to be fed, okay? If it's advertised on TV, it's wrong for you, all right? If it comes in a bottle, a package, or a can, you need to look at these labels that I just taught you. Sugar less than 12 grams, ideally. Nothing is perfect. If you know that product is natural, if it has 14, then that at least comes with some nutrients. But if something is processed like a protein bar, then why would you do that to your body? Okay? All right. You can cut that out. Same with the sodium. No saturated fat, not trans fat. And my rule of thumb is no other chemicals I don't know. You can really, the skinny on childhood, the benicity, actually, I like you. Really, the way I put the science together to explain to you what's happening with the liver, with the storage and everything, actually, Dr. Robert Lustig is the one I was telling you declared that we have an epidemic in neonate obesity, all right? So for those young ladies who one day will have kids, stay away from formulas the best you can, breastfeed at least 6 months, and then gradually just go straight for veggies and the real food as opposed to going through formulas. That's not a good idea. The skinny and obesity, this is really something that will explain. There are 7 episodes, 10 minutes each, that explains in more detail what I just touched about if you want more science behind it. And he's a fantastic guy to explain things, and it's also very, is very famous in what he does. All right, so Robert Lustig, and you have it in my handout. And you see, try to wrap all this around. I told you all these conditions. I show you I can make 90% of them mouse in 4 months, just the equivalent of a burger in the day. But all these conditions, at the end of the day, and they're only caused by what? By fatty liver, and it's caused by, oh mama, that's good. Okay, this is the abundance of the processed stuff that does the job. All right. Now there are some supplements. I told you we probably are omega-3 deficient by the type of food we eat. So I actually went to these mice and I gave them back some omega-3s. Now these are mice. So I don't know if this is the ultimate truth. All right. And this is going to apply for humans. We do have some studies giving back omega-3s with fish oil has some benefit in controlling the high triglycerides, helping possible with heart failure and cardiomyopathy, and certain patients have heart attacks. It may help them with that too. But we don't have a lot of data that will control other conditions. But in this particular mice, you know, look what happens today. Remember I was telling you about fatty liver? Well, you can see what's a fatty liver here. This is the control. This is a mice. I took their liver. We look out. Everything that's a bubble, white bubble or red dot, that's fat. This is the normal one. This is what happens after 4 months. Just one burger a day. And you can get that burger. When I say burger a day, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. That's your protein bar I just showed you. It's the same thing. It's a burger. All right? And I showed you the chemicals that are common to the burger, to the protein bar, to the cranberry juice, that do the same thing that you need to limit. That's the main idea. Okay? And this is what happened. And then I put them actually on this, what we call good omegas. They're supposed to block the liver from seeing that. It actually makes the liver thinking, what we need to do, the solution is this, if this is a fatty liver. If liver thinks we have too much, excess, we need to make the liver think there is starving. We don't have enough food. Okay? So that means we got to provide real nutrients that will be good calories. They'll make the liver think, oh, I'm hungry. So we'll start to actually convert that fat back and release back the food into the system. And that's what we need to do. So actually this, at least in this particular experiment, these particular mice, you see how this is how it looks so much white bubble here. I went on 2 grams a day, eventually 4 grams a day, almost went away completely. And what I did, I converted a chubby mouse with a lot of diseases into a chubby mouse looking cute. All right? No disease. Actually, cardiomyopathy is improved and all that. So that's an option. Now, what works for mice may not work for humans. We don't have that evidence for that, and that's full statement. But I think some supplementation, certain things, it's not going to hurt. And if you want to study more of those enthusiastic, really, there are people who have studied this for a while. You know, Dean Washington has a diet, Forks Over Knives. There's a documentary on Netflix, or there's a book you can download. They're really done by these guys who did the China study. They studied this. It's a big famous study about it. Colin Campbell and others. And probably the best report in the field that is, is Michael Pollan, which has the least bias about this with Omnivore's Dilemma. He has several books, but this is one of those. These are people who are unbiased that actually do something, and they look at over those things, okay? So, any questions so far? Because I'm going to switch gear to my favorite subject, sodium. Organic versus not organic vegetables. To me, hey, get your 30% vegetable in the diet, you'll make me very happy. I don't care if it's organic or not. Because you're already 100 steps ahead compared to anybody else who doesn't take those vegetables. I don't care if they're organic or not. Now, if you can afford, they are 2 to 3 times more expensive. Then, presumably you can go with organic. But to me, just to make the step to buy those vegetables, increase that proportion to 1/3 of your diet, you already get 80% or 90% of your benefit. Whether organic or not makes a difference, I'm not sure 100%. There are contaminants, there are other things. But I think just think vegetables and low sugar fruits and get that up to 1/3 of your diet every day, you've already made huge progress, okay? Organic or not. Yeah, so the serving size is irrelevant. That goes with the color. The reason why I say is very simple. Whatever is the serving size, you're going to have a list of serving. Is that right? Right. So that means when you read that label, you're going to have at least that. Okay? If even that is too much, then you need to back off. That's why I said calories, it's irrelevant. You're going to have that. I don't care. What I'm interested in is how those calories and what type of nutrients are used to get those calories into your system. Yes. I understand trying to buy something fresh is obvious, way more expensive than having something frozen. And frozen is not necessarily bad. And I want you to use the same rules for the frozen section. It's exactly the same. And actually, the next section is going to be about that. And we're going to practice. Yes. Why is sodium important? we talk about carbs, we talk about fat, right? We talk about alcohol and sweeteners and all that. We're going to talk about sodium now, my favorite subject. No matter what you hear or what you read on the internet or anywhere, there is no such thing as a low sodium or too low that you're going to die, okay? That doesn't exist. And I'm going to make a case for that, okay? Our society, just like with the sugar, is that it only been going only one direction, up, not down. And because of that, actually a recent study published in New England Journal showed that if we were to reduce our salt intake by 3 grams a day, which is almost a teaspoon, okay, 4 grams will be a teaspoon, we could actually save 20%, reduce by 20% everything relates to death related to high blood pressure and heart attack in this country. That is actually as much or more than what we do with medicines nowadays, which is 50 years of medicine, okay? The difference is this will cost nothing, where that cost, trillions of dollars. That's why you'll see me going so strong, how important is nutrition. And this is a simple, nobody said this is destroying all your salt content. No, this is just cutting it by a third of what you eat. That's it, at young age, and continuing for right. And the average daily sodium intake is 10 grams for somebody like that. That means in average, if you just eat out once a day, you eat about 2.5 equivalent of sugar, of salt a day. 7 grams for women, they eat less, they are smaller, so they say. 60-80% of salt comes from processed food. So immediately, I tell you where that's coming from. If you were to make an effort and you say, you know what, I want to get that third down now. Well, where is that coming from? It's coming, 2/3 are coming from eating something that you have not cooked, period. So if when you shop at Kroger, Publix, or when you go and eat out, if you can reduce that by, in a certain, let's say 50%, you immediately are a winner. Okay, that means that 50% that stops from going out, that means that 50% has to be by you starting to cook. There is no other way. Now I have a question. How many of everybody who's here has been taught by their parents and has followed their mom in the kitchen to learn how to cook? All right. About half. Okay, that's, you're a lucky one. The other half are unlucky. So if you haven't been taught how to cook, that's your parents' problem. Here is why we cannot find a solution. If you don't know how to cook, you ain't gonna find no solution. Just be ready, become my customer. Okay. But you need to learn how to cook, and it's never too late, but that's what you're gonna have to do. All right, if you were to do that, all right? So sodium is a problem. Here is, the more you eat, the more like in a given country, you're gonna have high blood pressure percent expressed, okay? And the correlation is almost 1, almost 100%. And this is equivalent of 1,000 milligrams a day. Anything more than that, you see how the ratio, the relationship between high blood pressure and sodium goes up. And indeed, believe it or not, there's these guys here. The one who is here up here at about 2 grams sodium a day. These are a nice couple from New York. But there is another extreme here. These are called Yanomami Indians. They live in the Amazon jungle between Venezuela and northern Brazil. And they eat only 50 milligrams a day. 50, less than 100. All right, they survive. They've been here for a million years. They still live like Stone Age, so they don't have an access to salt. 50 milligrams a day. So I don't want to hear, oh, 1,000 is too low, I'm going to feel bad. Actually, these Yanomami Indians, you follow them until they are 60 or 65. Not only they don't have internal blood pressure, but they never get high blood pressure, okay? So that's very important to know. Now, they may have certain genes, you can't know 100%, but following them and having nothing when you have such a low sodium, I'm not saying we can go on 50 milligrams and that will solve our problems. All I'm saying is the lower the better. That's all, okay? How about this one? Let's read some labels here. Yanomami Indian, 50 milligrams a day. How about this nice noodle dish from Hollywood restaurant? Look, 18.4. This is equivalent of 1 year salt intake for Yanomami Indian in one dish. Okay? And I promise you, if we eat that, each and every us will say this was delicious. We are not going to turn down that because it's too salty. But the reason why it's delicious is because it's too salty. Okay? All right? And they know what to do. I think they're lousy cooks because they shouldn't have to cheat to add that salt in order to create taste. That's why I don't want you guys, I want you to stop watching any cook-related show on TV. That's what created all. It creates fantasy, and then we go crazy when we're in real life. Stop reading blogs. Stop reading any name. My wife subscribes to it, and I look at it. I said, I don't know why you read this. You know, it's basically it's food porno, but it's not real food. Okay, all right, because it's not. They're cheating. It's just it's hidden advertisement. They put the bait, the laser, by putting the organic word there and some veggies and fruits, and then on the second page, when you read everything, it's all just junk. All right, so as a matter of fact, the higher the sodium, the worse, we get. But, it's not just that. Turns out that when we eat sodium, the alcohol consumption goes up too. All right, so is it that we eat sodium? Is it that actually when we eat anything that has salt, like steak and everything, we also have to drink, because otherwise we don't feel good? I don't know, but they come together if you go. So to me, when I see one, I know the other one follows too. All right? And basically now we're down to 1,500 milligrams of sodium restriction a day. That's what they recommend. And now let me explain you this cycle of sodium. Remember I was telling you liver's job is to look at calories in, calories out, and it's our pharmacy that regulates our weight. All right? Well, kidney does the same when it comes to sodium water. His job is to regulate the water level in the body. And he regulates that. That's he's in charge of. And the way you regulate the water is by regulating the sodium. So for example, if I just had this nice lunch that you guys had, is about 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams sodium. No, I'm taking it back. That's not true. All right. But anyway, let's assume that we had the 3,000 milligrams, lunch, which is, by the way, that's actually on the conservative side, if you were to eat anything out there, okay? And, the sodium is not made by the system. It's a very small element, comes from Earth. Then you can, the kidney will try to excrete. But let's assume for some reason, the kidney is not going to get rid of 3. It's going to get rid of only 2. And why is the kidney doing that? Because if you are older than 65, that's what the kidney does. That's the first sign of aging in the kidney. If you have any kidney, liver, heart disease, that's going to signal the kidney to retain that. And pretty much diabetes, almost every condition does that. I would say probably if I were to test, other than the little young ladies around here, a couple of them, most of us are already retaining more sodium than what we eat. And you know that because by the end of the day, you see your legs swollen. All right? So you're positive by then. Hopefully at night, you pee all that out, and in the morning, you reset the clock. But if you don't, and you keep seeing that, you're retaining the sodium, and your kidney is doing that. And you see, now you have a 1 gram, 1,000 milligrams that you stayed in your body for whatever reason. And sodium attracts water. The same way I tell my patients, if I'm in your room, the dog is attracted by a patient. You ain't going to see me in this room unless there is a patient here, okay? It's the same thing. 1,000 milligrams of sodium attracts 1 pound of water, and then little by little, that water starts to accumulate. Initially, it's just in our vessel system. You get what we call the blood is supposed to be contained into a system of a gallon, and then you start to have a gallon and a half, 2 gallons, and that expands. The heart starts to work under pressure, and then you start to be short of breath. You start to put fluid in the lung, and you get anxiety, you don't sleep well, you have to sit up at night, you don't know why you can't get to sleep, you ask Sorescu for a sleeping pill, and then your back can relax. Because all that adrenaline from the stress in the lung, you can't breathe well, it doesn't let you sleep, and that sleeping pill cuts the adrenaline. Blood pressure goes up. So those of you who have hard to control blood pressure, when it goes up, is because you just had too much salt and water in your system. And that's what it does, it expands the vessel system. And then if it doesn't go in the lung, if it goes into your stomach, you'll feel your stomach is full, you get congestion, you eat a little less and less, smaller and smaller portion. That's a sign of fluid and congestion in the stomach, nausea, and you have lack of appetite, okay? And eventually it goes in the legs. But by the time it goes in the legs and you see it, you already got it here, all right? I say you have 5 to 10 pounds before it gets down there. All right, so what I'm saying, the ankle swelling is only the tip of the iceberg of fluid accumulation in the body. And what do we do? If you are my patients, I'm going to give you a water pill, right? But it's a misnomer. We keep calling water. It's a sodium excretion pill. It's the antidote for the sodium. The only thing that the water pill does, it tells your kidneys to try to get rid of that sodium, okay? It blocks the channel for sodium, so it goes out. It's telling you, ideally, I would like to remove, if 5,000 were in, 2,000 out, then I want the extra 3,000 for the diuretics to take care of it. Tell the kidney to do it. But it's not perfect science. Sometimes you get the dose, they'll remove exactly those 3 extra, and then you're just neutral next day. Sometimes you get a little, I give you too much, because every kinase is a little different, and then you get to dehydrate, you remove too much, then you feel this, you don't feel good. Or sometimes I give you too little because you just had another nice lunch at Wendy's, okay? All right, so that's gonna be a problem. But there's not a perfect science, but it's basically the antidote for that. And you know, those who use, how many of you have to use this water pill on a daily basis? Okay, well, let me show you what's going to happen to you sooner or later, just like I told you with the other conditions. And probably some of this you're going to recognize it. So I got to give you a water pill every day. All right. This is what happens. You start to get gout or pseudo-gout. Any of you has had a gout attack? Painful swelling of your joints, any version, usually hands. Hey guys, if you haven't got a gout yet, you're really lucky. It's the most painful thing that you can ever imagine. It hurts, okay? And that's because the diuretics, remember I told you how the uric acid is made from fructose? Well, the diuretics block that uric acid from being released from the kidneys. So if that happens, it accumulates, and uric acid is like needle into the joint space. It will irritate and will cause that. So you keep taking it, that will aggravate all that. Then I give you steroids. The steroids make you retain salt and water. You're back in halfway where you started from, why I'm giving you diuretics, okay? And it doesn't go anywhere. Then you lose your potassium, you lose the magnesium. You get leg cramps. What do I do if you get leg cramps if you take the water pill? So you know what you do? You actually hold the diuretics, then you swell up some more. It doesn't cross your mind to actually stop the salt so you don't have to use the diuretics, all right? So it's terrible. What do? Oh, I give you potassium, magnesium. While you're taking up, you're going to hurt in your stomach, all right? Look, I can poison you. I can keep going and going. Those who, my patients, and they are very sick, they actually have to take the water pill once a week, once a month. My colleagues, they go and see them for different reasons. Say, you have congestive heart failure, Sorescu, only once a week, once a month. That doesn't exist. It's everywhere in every textbook we have. You have to take it at least once a day, if not twice a day. It's a must. But what it is, I beat that poor patient so much in their brain because they'll stop eating the salt, all right? But it makes a difference, and it does. Otherwise, it's a matter of time if you keep scaling up on that. And if you have a defibrillator, your potassium magnesium goes down. Number one cause of shocks in this country for those who have that. Your potassium magnesium goes down either from diarrhea or from abusing the diuretic, and your potassium goes low, okay? There's no magic. We doctors know, all right? And we tell you, but you just got shocked, so you forget. Then you start back from scratch, okay? All right? So this is no fun. All right. I create all kinds of diseases when I have to use on or keep scaling out on. And I didn't mention the kidney failure here, which is the worst part, by the way. But we're not there. The problem here is this. It's easy to quantify and look at the water. That's why everybody can focus on water very easily. Because I can add it up, and I know cup to cup, 8 cups, I'm done. Well, what do you do with the sodium? Because I don't have glasses for sodium in my compounds, right? All I know is some label that says something for those products who have labels. So easier said than done, but it's easier for me to figure the physician indirectly how much sodium you had extra that day. Because for each pound of water you retain, that follows 1,000 milligrams of sodium you retain. So basically it takes 1 gram to retain 1 pound of water. All right? So if you come back and tell, Doc, I just gained 10 pounds in 3 days, that means you gained 10,000 milligrams of sodium the last 3 days. Don't come back at me because you know I'm going to point the fingers back at you. All right? And that's, you need to know where it's coming from. And you know, I don't mind if you say, oh, I know where it's coming from. I'll know what you ate. I can tell if you gained 10 pounds, you ate a golden corral or red lobster. Okay? All right? And 90% works. It makes me look like a genius when I go in the room and my colleagues, doctor resident, they talk for 45 minutes. The patient, we cannot figure where this comes from, why they compensate. And I go and ask one question, where'd you eat? Golden corral or red lobster, depending how much I see is there. Okay? And it's one of those, or some all-you-can-eat place, that's all. If it's at least 10, 20 pounds. So that's what it is. It's just chemistry. And, you know, this thing with how much sodium should be, it's easier said than done. Yes, the total matter, but it's not only but it's very difficult to quantify, add them up. That's why I kind of stopped trying to add this, add that, and add that, because you can't really know what you actually take. That is the truth, as opposed to the water, right? How many are actually counting the sodium every day? All right, you do that. How much did you eat yesterday? Okay, you're thinking about it. Good, got it. I'll rest my case. All right, so it doesn't work. Really, it's very difficult. 1% of my patients, each and every time, most time, one person raise their hand. And I know who that person is because there is always one OCD patient that can do it, actually. That's why I came up, you know what? I need to teach you something simple that you can sort out in one shot. And that's why I came per serving formula. Because if you select the food product that really have low sodium, you don't have to count how much it is. In general, you're going to have a low better choice than the one that you don't, that have a high sodium. And you need to be concerned if you retain water. If you, by the end of the day, your legs are swollen, then you're eating too much salt, all right? And your body doesn't make the salt, takes 1 gram of salt to retain 1 pound of water. And now I'm going to teach you how to do it. Here's, first of all, I always tell my patients who don't believe me that the diet is everything for this to control, is to tell me, you know how Einstein defined insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, and each time expect a different result. Okay? All right. So if you keep swelling up, despite telling me you did everything I asked you to do, that means you haven't changed. It's very simple. If you want to get different results, you need to change. And I promise you, what you guys are about to hear is going to be a change if you do it. And the key is, though, how I teach you to do the changes. Einstein came up with another one. Any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex. As a matter of fact, that is the job of the media nowadays. We provide you so much information so you actually study don't even know that's wrong anymore. That is the tool they use. It's too much. All right? It takes a touch of a genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. And I have a very simple formula that actually Dr. Andy Smith, my boss, said. If it tastes good, spit it out. Okay? All right? Unfortunately, we can't do that each and every day, okay? Because we do have to enjoy food from time to time. So then I went back and I said, well, how can I come up with some rules that are easier? I told you, I kind of had an idea. But I went to these Yanomami Indians, you know? Because why? I mean, they already do 50 milligrams a day. How the heck do they do? It's easy. Let me see what they do, and then I just pass on the message. I'm just a messenger. And this is what they do. They actually have, all of them have more or less a religion, a belief they have. And the secret is they eat only food from Mother Nature. And I literally translated word by word from whatever they were saying as their motto, okay? And basically, they eat stuff, they cook it, but they don't add sodium, basically. And they collect raw what is material, and then they process it very little. Go there. So if you were to go there in Amazon jungle, you don't have to ever take any medicines anymore, okay? All right. Or you can come back here, and then you say, well, I don't want to move over there. You stay here. Let me teach you how to do it. Basically, let's read the labels, right? Cheetos and bread. Which one has more salt? Okay, let's read the labels. I like it's 50-50. All right. But remember, it's the total that matters. Okay? So here is sodium per slice of bread, 140. This is actually not a lot. Times, if you eat 2 slices per meal, times 3, 6. 6 times 140 will be 840. Okay? How about Cheetos? The whole bag is 290. That's the whole serving. All right? Now, you are correct that per serving Cheetos has more, okay? But I promise you, you're not going to eat a Cheeto bag with each and every meal. And my whole point was not saying encouraging to eat Cheeto instead of bread, okay? My whole point is there are things that we do every day with every meal that we never thought it's a source of sodium. And you need to pay attention to that, that's all. And basically, that's why I came up, you know what? If there is a bread and I don't cook it myself, I'm going to try to get this to 100 milligrams. Because if I do that, then immediately I cut down to at least 50% that sodium that was coming from the bread. Okay? Or you cook yourself and you do nothing. Has anybody ever cooked bread with no sodium? Yeah. Good. It's healthy for you. No, for those who are not used to, yes, I got used to, and I agree with you. We cook, my wife cooks that too, but I'm just saying. So anyway, so then I come up with this rule. Look at this. Don't look at percent. That's, again, percent is irrelevant. Total calories is irrelevant. What matters is the actual chemical that goes in it and this concentration, okay? So it's 100 milligrams, or less. That's how I came up with the rule number 3 from that. Rule number 1 is fresh as it comes from Mother Nature, all right? That's rule number 2. Number 1, I showed it to you. 2/3, it comes from somebody else cooking but you, all right? Whether it's Kroger, Publix, or a restaurant, it don't matter, okay? So If you're going out 5 times a week and you decide, so what can I do? You starting to go from 5 to 2 times a week, you already made major progress there, right? Now, if you still swallow up, you're still sick, you should go only 1. By the way, this is the main reason why when kids leave home from high school, they go to college, in average, a college kid in the first year gains 20 to 30 pounds. Because none of them knows how to cook, nor have the proper choices when they go there. So sources process, and they pick the wrong stuff, okay? And of course, it comes also with other things there, but we're not going to talk about that one. Yeah, all right. Alcohol, that, more salt, so on and so forth. And that is the problem. So that's, stop eating out means I show the direction, not that I'm going to have. I eat out at Mexico every 2 or 3 weeks, but really I keep it at a minimum. And that means you cook at home, eat fresh fruit as it comes from Mother Nature. That means you try to have good sources that are close to Mother Nature, and try to process them at least as possible. I try not to, no matter what, I avoid the fried part of it, okay? But everything else goes. I don't care how you cook, what you do, all right? As long as it's not fried. Now, if you have to fry, you can fry from time to time. You just try to use maybe better will be, I like avocado oil, try to use a high melting kind of oil that you don't reuse it. And as soon as whatever you fry, get them out, cover them in Bounty and soak all that nasty fat and oil, okay? The best you can, all right? All right. So buy fresh and cook at home without adding salt. If you have to add salt, it's Mrs. Dash. It's potassium-based, has various flavors and spices. The secret with it is actually very, very disgusting and not tasty if you just dump it on something. You need to cook with it, and then the taste will be good. Not a problem, okay? You can't just use it like a salt shaker. And then read the labels for sodium. And my third rule is you really look at the label. It should say sodium less than 100 milligrams. In other words, so you don't want somebody else to chef. If you are the chef, use good ingredients. If you're not the chef, like you don't make your own cereals, your own bread, then you look at the label. Ideally, select the ones that sodium is less than 100. Okay? All right. So we talk about that. We talk about the fresh part 2. Buy that, and you can have a steak. This is what? This is a T-bone steak. Nice. All right. And we talk about that. So now I promise you we're going to talk about the frozen food labels. Here's a session. So this is what? Sweet peas. Frozen. Okay. Let's read the label. 2/3 of a cup, 89 grams, saturated fat, nothing, trans fat, nothing, cholesterol, nothing, sodium 200 milligrams. All right? So they cheat here. It's not fresh frozen. That is, so they tell you they need that for preservation. Well, you're already frozen. Why you need to preserve it more? Okay? So you don't need that. They add that because they know, and the sweet peas will have more taste. If you add salt, you go back for, this brand is way tastier. Okay? How about this? 20 milligrams broccoli. So these guys are not lying. The vegetables should not extract sodium from earth unless they feed them some ocean water or salty water. They got no sodium there from. It's all potassium, and that's how you know sodium. 20. So that's good. It's less than 100. So I teach you use that cutoff, then you know which one is healthier and better source than another. But in the same way, you can find barbecue sauce that's just fine. Sodium only 50 milligrams. It doesn't mean all of them, they're supposed to be junk. They're junk. Some of them are actually good. Some people are good cooks, and they know how to do it. And this is Nature's Own, 100% whole grain bread. This is, Publix bread, wheat bread. I want to make sure, from sodium perspective, whether it's wheat or not, it doesn't matter, because one is 220, the other one is 110. Now, hold on, I haven't finished. How about the carbs? Carbs is 11, total carbs is 20. So you see, when they add the sodium, they add the carbs too. So this particular one is total junk compared to this one, okay? You get lots more calories, and you get lots more salt, all right? So these are the 2 labels you gotta watch. And they cheated by adding a lot of chemicals, which I promise you, this is way tastier, bread than the other one, okay? But it is what it is. How about cereals? Raisin bran, shredded wheat. Okay, sodium, 300 milligrams for the raisin bread, 0 for shredded wheat. Check this out. But hold on a second. They can go down on sodium and then go up on sugar. So make sure we look at the carbs part 2. Total carb, 46 grams per serving. 46 divided by 4, 12 teaspoons of sugar. And you thought you just ate some healthy protein shake. All right? You just had some nice diabetes waiting for you. All right? And the same with the vanilla yogurt. Use only, I didn't even go there. Use only plain, whatever Greek yogurt. No vanilla, no other flavor, no fruits. If you want, you can add your own fruits from home, okay? But because they cheat, what happens is those you'll see, you read the carbs, and then you'll know what I'm talking about, what they add there, okay? And how about carbs here? 40 grams, yeah, the sodium is 0, but we still get 10 teaspoons of sugar, all right? So this particular shredded wheat, they did well with sodium, but you get diabetes. So if you are both diabetic and heart failure, yeah, your sodium is low, but that's impossible to eat because of the diabetes. I said, go for the sugar less than 12. You find the one that has both low, we can find. But be careful, because when they go down on one, they'll go up on the other one, and the other way around. Okay? All right. Mini wheats, but not good for diabetics. Okay. And this is what they do. Okay? And I tell you, the solution: buy fresh, cook fresh, eat fresh. It's all there. This is basically it's a homemade meal that we made at home. I caught the fish. We grew the tomatoes, and this is a little garlic sauce, and we call this polenta. Okay? All right. Careful with the polenta, though. Lots of calories. All right. This is homemade. This is all we grew in the garden. You don't have to grow it, because let's say you're not like me that I want to do that. But you can buy the same way, and just make sure you increase that in a proportion as a third of your diet. This is homemade bread. Avocado oil, I told you, is my favorite. You can binge on that. It's never enough. Has a high melting point, so actually you can use it as opposed to olive oil to actually also fry with it, and for any kind of cooking is actually an excellent, and it has omega-3s. I told you that. These 3 rules that I was telling you about, we actually compare with the regular rule where you try to add everything else, and it's really, the patients were no different. We try and measure their sodium. What was very interesting is those patients, or about 30 patients that we had, when we asked them, we measure it. They thought they were doing 20,000 milligrams or less of sodium, but you see what it is? It's actually about 2/3 were way more than that, okay? Right. So even they thought they did 2,000, some of them were doing 4,000, okay? Right. Using these rules, it wasn't any worse than the other one, so it's easier to follow, all right? And I say you can do anything you want, but if the patient doesn't want to do it, it doesn't matter. This particular patient had these swollen legs. We removed 60 pounds. And then when I came in the room, not only that she was eating all her plate, but she also ordered from across the street from Varsity. Okay? By the way, when I met her, she wasn't eating. She had so much fluid for about 3 weeks. I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to have to stop here. It's all in the handout. Then I'm on call for the hospital, and I got a lot of phone calls with it. It's in the handout. Every single advice I have, it's in the handout. Basically, it's a summary of what I just said. It goes over everything. Homemade juice stuff is there. By the way, one word about coffee. Coffee is excellent. The doctors tried to nail it for many, many years. We couldn't nail it. All right? The key is no more than 2 coffee and less than noon. Don't do it after 12 noon. Okay? And if you have more than 5, then you have a lot of caffeine. The same with unsweetened, with the tea. Is the only one that you can use as a supplement to prevent that fatty liver that I was telling you about. And doctors don't know why, but what it does, creates the liver, the impression is starving. And I always say, Lord, give me coffee to change the things I can, and wine to accept the things that I can't. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I know we went over a little bit more time.